potential. We ask this in Jesus' holy name.
Hello, everybody. How's everyone?
The truth of his word. Come sit with us.
We've been spending more.
Hello, everybody. Checking out a few things as we are on a new laptop today. And today I am having Dublin's Pub Cider is today's drink of choice. So this is Dublin's Pub apple cider. We'll be checking that out. So let's start by taking one and see how it goes. I've had this before, so it's not going to be a surprise. That's for sure. That's for sure. And it fits almost all in a glass. Cheers. Pretty good. Almost like apple juice with alcohol. So welcome, everybody, and cheers once again. And nice to have all of you on board. So this is the Shortwave Radio Show. We are live twice a week, Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 0 hours UTC. We are also live on Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern at 20 hours Universal Time. And we just talk about radio, have fun with radio, that old, antique way of communicating that is very modern, because it's easy just to let everybody know, and the young generation saying, well, radio. Well, your smartphone works with radio. That's why you get the internet and you can text. It's radio waves. So, it's still there, and it's still a very important thing for the technology today, radio. So welcome aboard. My name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, northeast part of North America. And okay, I see something here. The camera is right exactly where. Just check it out here. You can move it like that a little bit. And not much better, but it's better. So we are located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And of course, we talk about radio. We have fun with a bunch of guys just enjoying our hobby of radio listening. Today, we'll be doing some pirate chasing, some tuning to bands, some answering questions, and having fun with a great bunch of people that are fans of radio and are here for that reason. And it's really a lot of fun to be here, actually. So welcome aboard, everyone, and hope everything is all right, as I am now streaming with a brand new laptop, which is a gaming laptop that has a 17-inch screen. So this makes it more interesting once you actually even just 2 inches, and it's like a lot better when you look at all the space that you have, where I could see myself a little more and see the chat room. So welcome, everybody. Hope that you enjoyed today's show. And we have a special show coming up tomorrow that I'll talk about also. When this all ends, so there's a fantastic chat room with wonderful people you can actually interact with and have fun, answer questions, or even ask questions, especially if you're new to the hobby. I think it's great because you can actually ask questions and share with others. And it's a great place to learn. It's a great place to share your knowledge. And it's just a great place to talk about radio in general. And that's it. It's kind of cool. When this is over, there's, of course, a Facebook group that comes with all of this. And that is also the cool thing. Is the Facebook group is there to kind of complete this. So official SWL channel is the name of this shortwave channel, the Facebook group. If you search official SWL channel, you will also have the Facebook group. And there, well, you continue having fun with a bunch of really cool people that, once again, are just there to have a great time and enjoy what we all enjoy, which is having an amazing moment talking about radio. And this is absolutely cool to be able to interact with all of you, to be able to have all of you around here and talk about radio and share. And the Facebook group is cool. People sharing pictures and videos of what they are listening to and so on. And it's really, really cool to see the friendship and the fun that people are actually having. So welcome, everyone, and hope that you enjoyed the show today. Matt, MDK2, nice to have you here from Denver, Colorado, and says the temperature is 54 Fahrenheit, a very light wind. Here we're at barely above zero. We're at +1. So it's like 34, 33 Fahrenheit, which is typical of this time of year, actually. Joe Tyson, nice to have you here, Joe, from North Carolina, KM4WRQ. Bobby Burgess from Morgan City, Louisiana, WA5107SWL. Peter Sakal, nice to have you here from Hungary, Peter. Jeff, nice to have you on board. Jeff Williams from Southwest Cornwall, UK. Caesar, nice to have you on board from Romania. Do you have snow in Montreal? Not yet. We had about 5, maybe 10 to 12 centimeters of snow about a week and a half ago. 2 weeks ago, and it's all melted and gone now. So we're back at just seeing grass and very gray weather. And very gray here as we hit record after record of COVID cases actually here. 2,000 cases in the province of Quebec today, which is we never seen that many cases before. So it's like everything is going crazy. We're back at waiting in line to go to some of the stores. It's just sad moments. James Johnson, nice to have you here from Florida. Rob, nice to have you on board from Phoenix, Arizona, USA. Cyberflower 1, nice to have you here from a cold UK. Let's hope that shortwave and this, the friendship here is going to warm you up. Archer's Out of Crafter's Kitchen, nice to have you on board from Massachusetts. Having a blast listening to his 95-year-old at Water Kent 20C. As primitive as a radio can be, but unbelievable fun. I'm sure I would have fun with that also. I love old technology. When I see an old tube radio from, like 70 years ago, and you're like, wow, this is so cool, or 80 years ago, or it's hard to believe that we're at 2020. We've passed the 100-year mark of radio in general. That is something when you think about it. Time really flies. Prasad, nice to have you here from India, and hope that you are well, my friend. Tom DXer, WPE2QED, nice to have you here from the Hudson Valley, New York. Rodolva65 from New York City, nice to have you here. Rob, nice to have you on board. Shortwave listener, SWL or SW listener, nice to have you here from a chilly Bolton, Northwest England. So warm up with your radios. Hi, Brawler, nice to have you here from Arkansas. Handy Coley, nice to have you here, my friend. Rufus Newt from the Laurentian Valley, Ontario. Aerial Imaging, nice to have you here, Ryan from Lockport, Illinois. Got my Drake R8 back from refurb and can't wait to tune around with you guys today. Cool. Really beautiful radio. That Drake R8 must be working great now with the refurb. These radios are amazing desktop receivers, I can tell you that. I remember there was a time when I chose my Kenwood R5000 back in 1990-ish. I remember that one of the things that I would look at that time was also the Drake. There was the NRD 525 also that was, but those were more expensive. And because of my limited budget at the time, I came to a Kenwood R5000 that I purchased from someone. I told the story many times. And that was my main radio, my main desktop receiver for 20 years. So 1990 to about 2010 when it actually, the Kenwood, some Kenwood receivers have that problem, including the TS440, I think, which is like the little brother of the Kenwood R5000. And they developed some problems, including one that I had was the dots problem in the display, which is the phase lock loop that actually loses its lock. So it can't actually tune the frequency. It doesn't know what frequency it is because it's not locked. And the last 4 or 5 years, that radio was on 24 hours a day because if I shut it off, I had a hard time getting it back working. But as long as it stayed on, it worked. So I would just put the volume at 0 and leave it on for 24 hours a day for a few years. And of course, whatever happened. We had a power outage. And, I never was able to turn it back on after that. So that's when I started looking around. What do I do? Do I have this thing repaired and refurbished? Or should I look at something else? And one of the radios that I was looking at the time, the ICOM ICRD 500, for a very simple reason. I wanted to have a good shortwave radio, but an equally good receiver that goes in the VHF UHF range. And the 8500 kind of accomplishes that at the same time. It is a good, it's not as good as my Kenwood 5000 on shortwave, but it's close. And the VHF UHF, simply the best VHF UHF receiver I have and ever used. Really, truly an amazing radio there on that range. So that's what I purchased. It was most of the time here in Canada, like $2,300 Canadian. But sometimes you have a little bit of luck. And I still remember I went to Radio World Toronto online. And like I said, they're usually $2,300. And there was a sale, and it was like, wow. And they were $1,750. So I thought, you know what? Maybe it's time to purchase. Let's take out the credit card and let's go. And it's been my main radio. Been happy with it for many years. Still am happy with it. It's just that SDR kind of took over for me because of its flexibility. But it's going to have a shiny place there, the icon and the Yaesu FT450. I'm pretty sure I'm going to put them here when I can actually do a better job at reorganizing the rest of my office. That's still kind of a little mess here with everything that's happening. So nice to have you on board, Ryan. Bernie Dodge, nice to have you here from San Diego. Jean-Louis Berthaud, bonjour et bienvenue de la France. C'est un grand plaisir de t'avoir parmi nous. Luigi Rofart, Luigi, bonjour et bienvenue de la France encore une fois. La France bien représentée, PLF Radio. Et également un Français. C'est toujours un plaisir de t'avoir parmi nous. Et c'est agréable d'avoir des amis français qui regardent l'émission. Désolé, plusieurs aimeraient que je fasse quelque chose comme ça en français, mais malheureusement, presque tout mon contenu est anglophone. Je suis désolé, mais peut-être éventuellement, je ne sais pas. Et c'est difficile parce que c'est de trouver aussi le temps pour pouvoir faire ça. Mais bienvenue, mes amis français. Comanxi76, nice to have you here from Michigan. SoCal from San Diego. Mark, nice to have you here. Mark Cancelada. Arjun Wiesman, nice to have you here from Cyprus. KW1161, 1161, nice to have you here from sunny Tucson, Arizona. Jari Markkanen, nice to have you here from Finland. Nice to have people from Nordic countries also. Bernie was confused by the Christmas lights in the display. Yeah, it could be like, what does he have as a plugin that creates these blinking lights? What does it mean? Eric Cottrell, bonjour, hi. Nice to have you here. WB1HBU from Boston, Massachusetts. Here it's just gray, cloudy, and that's pretty much it. Nora, nice to have you here. René Charbonnier, the Dutch pirate. I like that. René Charbonnier, the Dutch pirate. Nice to have you on board. Good evening. James Johnson, greetings. Nice to have you here. What do we have? Tom DXer, nice to have you here. Tom Bibish, nice to have you here from Ohio. Keegan, nice to have you here from Northwest Arkansas, XN80Xer. Good afternoon. We have... Oops, I just jumped. We have in the chat room. Matt says, I measured my laptop screen 15-inch. Easy to see how much bigger a 17 screen would be. You know, it's interesting because so, you know, here when we're dealing with small screens, I mean, I had a MacBook that had 13-inch, and you know, when I was using computers, because I wasn't doing a tech guy duties, one of the things that was nice about having like a MacBook 13-inch was the fact that it was small. So it's easy to bring along with you everywhere. But when you work on it and when you do videos and when you do, live chats and stuff, honestly, a bigger screen is fun. Actually, I could use it also and use that 32-inch Sony that I'm not using now and also look at it from there. That could be actually a nice thing to do eventually, where I could maybe I could put the chat room on that big screen instead, and leave the main computer display here more into what I want to actually want to read. But just 2 inches is already a big difference here, just for me. So it's nice. It's an Asus Ryzen 7 laptop with a GTX 1660 Ti graphics chip, and it is a darn fast computer. Right? It's like I press a power button and I'm already logging in like 3 seconds. It's just crazy fast. So hopefully it's going to work well for everything that I have to do also at the same time. The other one, the Acer Nitro 5, I still like. What I did is I actually put it on my 70-inch screen in the living room. It lets me play games if I want on the 70-inch screen, which is kind of cool. And at the same time, so it's it's kind of fun. And this one, of course, I play games here. It comes with 6 months of Xbox PC Pass for free. So this is cool because it opens up for the next 6 months. I'm going to be playing around with tons of games because they're included in the Xbox Pass. So it's really cool. Razvan Emmanuel, can't find the Facebook group. Keegan just wrote it really well. Official SWL channel. Just search for that. You should get it. Caesar, why I don't dress up as Santa Claus? It's not Christmas yet. Christmas is coming, but it's not there yet. I actually don't have my Santa suit is actually. I need to buy a new one. I need to check that out. Because when we're going to, I haven't looked at, let's look at the calendar here for the Christmas show stuff. So Christmas is on a Friday. So Saturday's going to be the 26th, which is Boxing Day. So that's okay. The Wednesday show is going to be 23rd. So, I'll look into some Christmas special something there that week. And then the week after, we're going to be incredible thinking about it. So the week after that, the show's going to be Wednesday the 30th. And so that's going to be the last show of the year. I was thinking, and I'm going to confirm that for you guys. It's possible that the week of between Christmas and New Year, it's possible that I'll take that week off of live shows and just take it easy and come back with a live show on January 6th, Wednesday, January 6th. I think that's going to be the thing that I'm going to do. So I'll probably do like Christmas show special on Wednesday and Saturday the 23rd and 26th. And after that, take a week off and come back in January in the new year. That we all hope, I guess, that will be much better than 2020. Joseph Higginbaum, nice to have you here from San Francisco Bay, California. What's on the air? I don't know. Some guy from Canada, I guess. So Razvan, nice to have you here from Romania. You're welcome to the Facebook group also. What else do we have? Roughest New Test 23 with light snow in the valley. So right now, no big snow coming to our area, not at least for now. So kind of interesting. Razvan says having 61 today. in plain winter. Yeah, that's kind of warm, eh? Eric Cottrell, nice to have you here. And says, I've already said that anyways. 11900, Voice of America. Let's check it out. 11900. Am I getting it? A lot of noise here. I got some really weird noise. That is something that I don't know where it comes from. I know it's not the decorations I have because I've unplugged everything. And it's still there. I'm wondering if there's not a neighbor that has maybe some decorations or something that is creating a really, really big amount of noise right now. It's crazy. Keegan, or 101 years of counting WWV. Yep. David, KJ4CMY, nice to have you on board. Eric Cottrell, there seems to be a number of African signals coming in on 25 meters. Yeah, I hear. So 11900 is there. Usually there's a couple of signals also that come from, there's the one from Madagascar, World Voice usually. Let's check it out here. Wow, look at that buzzing, man. It's crazy. What is that? What is that? This is weird. So we have 31 meters also. 9515 is, wow, this makes it almost impossible to listen to shortwave. What is that buzzing? It's not there in the lower frequency, so that's CFRX 6070. $6195 coming in well. I believe this is Voice of America 6195. Also, African signal. Lots of really nice signals from Africa there. Others on the Crafter's Kitchen. I tried the MLA30 on the Atwater Kent. It works. It works not very well on it. I think it has to do with the radio's ground. A 100-foot long wire works much better with ground to a cold water pipe. It's like I was trying the Texan AN 200 medium wave loop on some of my old tube receivers here. And it doesn't, for most of them, it doesn't seem to work well. It seems that for some reason that isn't the way these radios kind of, I don't know, had a different way of working that isn't kind of compatible with the more modern way we work. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I thought, hey, I'm going to boost the signals of, for most of them, not all of them. There are a couple of American 5s that I have here that actually do work with it. But there's quite a few that it doesn't do anything, or it even is worse than actually helps out. SV O'Rourke, nice to have you on board from Hawaii, and have a great shortwave weekend also. Koroma Nikolai, nice to have you here. Shady Paranani, nice to have you on board. Kevin, nice to have you here. WS2H. Wrapped up some Christmas shopping, listening to hams on 80 and 40 meters. Skywarn contest. I was listening to some hams on 40 meters actually earlier. Mickey Delmage, nice to have you here. Mickey Delmage from Sherwood Park, Alberta, Canada. Nino Savat, cheers from Ottawa. Nice to have you on board. Matt says, not much in the way of cold water pipes for grounding nowadays. Most homes have PVC up until the house itself. That's true of older homes if the water line was serviced. Yeah, here, the whole building was redone. And so all the pipes are now PVC. There's no more metal. So I can't ground myself to a cold water pipe. It pipes in PVC. It's kind of weird. I still remember when I had that little crystal radio kit from Radio Shack, and I would ground myself on the the cold water faucet in the bathroom to listen to AM stations on it. Oh man, cool souvenirs. Pagemaster, nice to have you here. KC5VOY WA5136SWL from Oklahoma. Meow to Mr. Paul. Made 13 contacts today. 3 new states added to Parks on the Air: Montana, Oregon, and New Mexico. Cool. You're having fun with that. It's really nice. Eating Chinese food? How dare you, Shitty Pyro? I love Chinese food. I love Chinese food. What else do we have? Joe Rodman, nice to have you here from Chicago area. Ryan says, I have the VHF converter installed into the R8 as well. No UHF, but I really never lean on it. From time to time, I'll use it to tune something in there. Yeah, it's, I don't know. I don't have any experience or knowledge about that one. But if it's, and a lot of the receivers back then had that. So the Kenwood R5000 had a VHF converter also. You could listen to 130, what was it, 118 to 174 megahertz. It was just VHF. And I remember seeing one in action and thinking, this thing is way too expensive for what it does. A scanner radio does a better job at that and doesn't cost more. And I always thought, if I had it for like a really cheap price just for the fun of having the extra, yeah, okay. But I always thought it was kind of a useless thing. I was like, nah. Scanner radio works great and, scans faster. Everything was better on even on the cheaper scanner radios. It was like 100 times better than that thing. It's just that you had it VHF capability to the Kenwood, So I don't know about the one on the Drake, but if it is kind of in a similar type of VHF converter, it's kind of, yeah, okay. You use it to tune something maybe, but I don't think you use that as a main scanning receiver, that's for sure. Yes, some French. Scott Granson, nice to have you here from snowy Massachusetts. Cool. Randall Klontz, nice to have you here from Chicagoland. Pagemaster, Ethon Mini 300 World Band receiver came in this morning. Cool. Have fun checking it out. SVO Roke says, my DX cache of the week, Zambia on 5965 this morning at 1733 UTC. Jazz music. Wow. That's a good one. I'm not even sure I've ever heard of Zambia on shortwave, ever. I've heard a lot of African stations, but I don't think I've ever. I need to try that one. Check their schedules when they are on the air. Stephen Wood, nice to have you on board from Cape Cod. Jeff King, nice to have you here from Jacksonville, Florida. Really nice to have all of you on board, my friends. Let me check it out here. Okay, let's go down. Oui, PLF Radio. Yes, tomorrow, the VHF UHF channel. So I couldn't, didn't do a live show on Wednesday. So I thought to compensate, how about doing a VHF UHF show tomorrow, Sunday? So if you are on my VHF UHF channel tomorrow, Sunday, at 21 hours UTC, so tomorrow, December the 6th, 2020, at 21 hours Universal Time, the VHF UHF channel will have a live show. We'll be talking about anything above 30 megahertz and trying to tune some VHF signals and maybe some satellites. Maybe we could take a look a little bit more closer at amateur radio satellites once again. A lot of people are interested in that and are kind of don't have much knowledge about it. A lot of people are, VHF, UHF fans of different communications, but satellites is not they don't have much knowledge on it, and they like to start out. They'd like to have more information. So maybe tomorrow we could kind of talk about that more, and how I do it. And it looks complicated, but it's actually a very simple thing to do. It's mostly the antennas and the equipment. Sometimes it depends on the satellite and what signal you want. But tomorrow, 21 hours Universal Time. Tomorrow, Sunday, December the 6th, VHF UHF live show on the official VHF UHF channel. What else do we have? Jason Shaughnessy, nice to have you here from Ireland. There's a street just at the corner of my street here that actually is called Shaughnessy. DE1 DJK, nice to have you on board, my friend. What else do we have? What did I just click? Everything is now highlighted. What the hell? There we go. It's those touchpads that have like multiple things, and you put 4 fingers and it does something. So nice to have you on board, D1 at DJK. Eric Cottrell, VOA. 12075, much better signal than 11990, also French. Let's check it out here. 12075. Hopefully it's not going to be too noisy. Oh yeah, that one's good. Absolutely. Really? Yeah, 12075 coming in well. Is that one also from Botswana, Africa? I was wondering if that could be from Botswana. So, okay, just want to do something here for a second. So, yes, there's a little bit of noise. I was checking out what was happening here. So, okay. What do we have? So, African pop music with French male announcer. Yeah, that's nice. D1 DJK says, back in the hobby again. Now I find the time to listen on his sold out S350DL. Cool. Welcome back. So, yeah. I'm fine. A little, lots of obligations that make it a little complex, but yeah, going well. Really going in well. Eric Cottrell, BBC English from Ascension Islands on 12095. Let's try that one, see if I can hear it. So this is 12075. That is from Botswana Relay. I barely have BBC 12095. Almost nothing there. So that's not very strong here. It's interesting to see, well, depending on the antennas and depending on, sometimes just a few hundred kilometers is enough to make a huge difference between the signal levels and what we're receiving. And of course, there's the noise. I know that here I have a lot of noise, and right now I have more than usual today. Rodrigo Galter, nice to have you on board from Brazil. And it's listening on his XH Data D808. Cool. And cheers. I am drinking apple cider. It's there's that wonder. It's the Dublin's Pub apple cider that I'm drinking right now. Tastes like apple juice, pretty much. Not bad, not bad. The Rock AD, nice to have you on board, my friend. Matt had BBC pretty decently between 17.18 today on 17.830. Was better than 17.780, but both were coming in. Yeah, 17.830 is usually a nice signal. I've been listening late at night to the BBC. I get 5.875 around 500 UT coming in quite well. 6,005 would be good, but Radio Havana Cuba splashes all over it. So I go to 5.875, and it's pretty good. D1 DJK's got 39.55. KBS World Radio in German. Cool. What else do we have? Petef Barat, nice to have you on board from Mansfield, UK. SVO Rook can only get the BBC on 11.810 at around 1800 UT weak signal. What do we have? Shady Pyro 90 recently got 2 QSL cards from Radio Romania International. Cool. SVO Rook says BBC is a rare catch, DX catch in Hawaii. That's sad. It isn't super easy here, but if you choose the correct time, you'll have a BBC reception. Rakesh Seshan. Nice to have you here, my friend Rakesh. My opinion on the Texan R9700DX. From all the comments that I've seen of people that have one, it seems to be a very decent analog receiver. It is higher priced than most analog radios. And from what I see, is most people that have one are very, very happy with it. Carlos Aguila, nice to have you here. Rodrigo Galter's got 9410, CNR Jammer Fire Drake. Oh, do I hear that? Let's check it out. 9410. Any Fire Drakes over here? Nope. No Fire Drakes here. No Fire Drakes here. No, the buzzing there is not the Christmas lights, Joseph. I've seen this buzzing this week, and my lights were all off. It doesn't come from here. It comes from somewhere else, and I don't know where. It's really, really crazy. It doesn't seem to come from my home. Unless there's one thing I didn't try. I got a new coffee maker. So maybe I should try to unplug the coffee maker. Because we are surprised sometimes that, wow, machines make really a lot of noise. But apart from that, I can't see anything else. Oh, there is one thing I will try. Because that I haven't tried. Let's do the test of the laptop power supply. How about that, guys? Now, that's maybe something that's a problem. So let's check it out here. Let's check it out here. So I've got those power lines. It's not a computer. So the test is done. It is not the computer. So it could have been, because I didn't think about it, but this is a new PC. It could have been the PC power supply. But no, it's not. PageMaster says everyone should read this H-page article, Solar Activity and HF Propagation from FDIM Symposium 2005. Talking of solar activity, very interesting thing. And actually, they're talking about it on Space Weather today. So two things that were interesting that I came across on solar activity. One is about, so the sun like woke up real nice, pretty fast in the last few weeks. And one, there's a guy that actually watches solar cycles and has been saying that the way NASA and NOAA do their predictions is not the right way, because it's just simply an observation of past cycles, and they extrapolate that data into what predictions they do. And he says that's wrong. He says, no, you're not doing it right. And he has analyzed on his own the solar cycles. And he says that he's noticed that when the bottom of the cycle and a nice rise in activity suddenly happens less than a year before, so if the rise like what we are having right now is happened, and the first sunspots that rose, the solar flux happened in the first year, basically. He says solar cycle might actually be a pretty big one, because the first year is usually extremely quiet, even though it starts rising. And he says that when he looks at the pretty big activity we had in the past couple of weeks, he says that goes with my thinking that maybe cycle 25 is going to be a big one. So he has his own predictions, and that's going to be interesting to see in the next few years, because we'll see the NASA predictions and that guy's predictions. His prediction is that cycle 25 coming up is going to be in the top 10 of the strongest cycles we've ever seen. So that is interesting. And I mean, why not? That could be fun. That could be really interesting if it happens. But we'll see. I don't know. It's interesting. That guy has his own observations of that. Another thing that shows a tendency to a stronger cycle, and space weather has that today. So all this, like the major, most spots and most activity we've seen right now since the rise of the solar cycle is in the southern hemisphere of the sun. The northern hemisphere has almost nothing. And when they look at the past cycles and they look at how they were active at the start, space weather was showing that all the cycles that start with a lot of activity in the south pole of the sun are stronger cycles than the ones that either have activity at the north pole of the sun or equal north-south. And they give an example of the biggest solar cycle we know, which is the solar cycle of like 57, 58, 59, 60, which was solar cycle 19, I think. That cycle is started off with a lot of sunspots only in the southern part of the sun. And it was one of the biggest ever seen. And almost all of the big ones that you see in their charts start off with lots of activity on the southern pole of the sun, and very little in the northern part. And that's interesting, because you have this week that guy that says, no, NASA got it wrong. Next cycle is big. And you have that observation of charts showing that, well, if that is true, if that is a tendency, then maybe we are in for a big solar cycle 25. That's going to be interesting to look at. I mean, will it be a small one like NASA and NOAA predicts? Will it be a bigger one? Kind of interesting. Stephen Wood, 6065 Zambia, Voice of Hope, now with a good signal. 6065. 6065. Do I hear something?
You cannot be forgiven. That's the purpose for his coming, to forgive us of our
I do hear some religious broadcasting.
Jesus became a man to save us from our sins. And here's the fourth one. Jesus became a man to sympathize with our weaknesses.
Well,
Now, this is something
that would be a
that's
first for me.
astounding to me. And you say, where in the world would you pick up
So that would be Zambia, Voice of Hope, 6065, guys. I believe from what I see here, comes from Madagascar Relay. No, it's not Madagascar. What's M? Madagascar is MDG. Is it from Zambia? I guess the transmitter site is in Zambia. So, wow. Voice of Hope Africa coming in 6065 kilohertz, guys. Look at that.
And understands you, you know that because one walk among us and experience everything that we've experienced. And the scripture says, he experienced it all of course apart from sin. Some theologians say there's two elements. And they say, if Jesus could not sin, then temptation could not have been temptation. Sin could not have been sin.
So kind of cool. Thanks for the tip, Stephen Wood. Got it here, 6065. Voice of Hope from Zambia. DG1, DGK surprisingly got 6005 Radio Belarus in German language late evening and Radio Slovakia late afternoon on the same frequency. Yeah, that's from the 6005 is from that German relay service, right? Gordon Lyle, nice to have you here. Yeah, it could be lights or decorations from someone. I know it's not from my home, pretty much. I wonder where it comes from. It's not there all the time, so we'll have to check that out. Keegan, yeah, Paul in Alaska. Paul received KCIK Hawaii on 740. Pretty amazing. That's good DX. Eric Cottrell, 9410, very weak on the East Coast. Toolman, nice to have you here. W1 WJZ in Mississippi. William Helms, nice to have you here from Florida. Bill, nice to have you on board. Says the new cat is doing awesome. Cool. Korama, Nikolai, I may be wrong about the airport, but that is what I heard. Did I miss out something on one of the what we were talking about? Erica Charles, 6065 coming in good. Artist Crafter's Kitchen. My home was built in 1930. True cold water pipes, which my old radios love. Yeah, well, here here it's been built in 1950, so it's 70 years old now. And they were all metal water pipes, but because of some problems over time, it has been redone, but it's been redone with plastic PVC pipes. Mad Boy, nice to have you here. Jeff Barrett, nice to have you on board from Cincinnati. What do we have? Because on 100051, it's Gander Radio, like Karajan says. So I might have probably missed something that you were saying. Thomas Luciani, nice to have you here. Nice to be tuned in to the #1 show about radio. 45 degrees and cloudy on Long Island, WA2KAY. Nice to have you on board. Whoa. Boing. Our control still has copper water pipes in the house. So that's good for the grounding. Page Master, did you receive the NRI radio course? Yes, I did. Absolutely. Gordon Lyle says, if you can find a converter on eBay for a Drake R8 series, it's almost $300 US. I never got it for my R8. You know, I mean, buy a scanner radio at that price. They scan better. They do more. You know, it's like I always kind of was a little off by these offerings. You know, when you buy a $2,000 radio and it's like, oh, by the way, that is extra and this is extra and that's also extra. You feel like saying, you know, yeah, right. Everything's extra. I just paid $2,000 for a radio and you can't even give it. Come on. Should be in. At that price, should all be in. I mean, come on. John Erikstrom, nice to have you here from Sweden, John. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. What else do we have? Matt says, I'd love to know more about the military bands and VHF and UHF. I'll try to remember to ask about that tomorrow. Yes, absolutely. We'll talk about that too. JJ says, yes, satellite stuff and also radio astronomy. D1 DJK, there's a Chinese on eBay who sells the Texan BCL 3000 over 300 euros. What a ripoff. Look, there's tons of these things on eBay. I saw a Degen DE1103, the old analog one, portable. I mean, I paid, I don't know, something like about 70-ish US dollars for it back when I purchased it. And the guy was selling it 500. The title was Degen DE1103 high. What was it? The title was high, like high quality, high performance, shortwave receiver tunes the world. And he was selling it like something like 595 US dollars or something. It was like, yeah, you're gonna rip off somebody that knows absolutely nothing and thinks that thing is an amazing radio now. Sal Marandola, nice to have you here from Pennsylvania. Picked up a ICOM R75 used. Cool. These are great radios. Erica Charles, hearing some FT8 on 15 meters. Rich, what's your VHF UHF channel for tomorrow? So it is official VHF UHF channel. So here it says official SWL channel. Just go and type youtube.com/official VHF UHF channel and you'll stumble on it immediately. Hey, Radioactive, nice to have you on board. JJ, how are you liking the PL990X? Do you have a lot of imaging issues in Montreal due to strong stations? Nope. The 990X is really good. It's a triple conversion receiver. So the 990X is pretty immune to imaging or any problems. I don't have any FM breakthrough in it. It's really a top-notch receiver. Really am enjoying it. I can tell you that. Interesting, Erica Charles. BBC and VOA, same signal for him. I have a strong 12075, but almost nothing on 12095 here. D1 DJK, BBC gets weaker and weaker to receive in Europe. Probably transmit more from for Asia and Africa directions. The best is in Europe. You guys, that when you have the when the transmitter site is Ascension Island and they broadcast to West Africa, that is your best signal probably in Europe because it's directly towards Europe. And every time I've tried the Ascension Island transmitter towards West or Central Africa, usually Europe, it comes in real well. Stephen Wood, transatlantic medium wave signal starting to fade in. Wow. 1521 Saudi Arabia, 1215 Absolute Radio UK, 531 Algeria with listenable audio. Wow. Tom Bibish says Cuban 20 meter coming in strong with some drift in Ohio. Jim F, nice to have you here from Rhode Island with a rain snow mix. Joe Rodman, 12075, Voice of America, PL 660, Texan, just a whip. Leon DJK says VOA from Botswana on 17585 was very strong today on the S350DL. What else do we have? Matt says the middle box that encloses the RSPDX is really good. My laptop puts out significant RFI with my portable. Can pick up, but my running various tests has convinced me that the RSPDX is shielded from it. Yeah, it seems to be very, very good. Absolutely. I also sometimes wondered by placing it in different areas because, it's a little black box. So what you do, you place it somewhere. You don't necessarily, you don't have to touch it unless you plug antennas. So what happens? You put it somewhere like, where I have it in the corner over there, but you'll tend to put it somewhere where, it's going to be there and just plug the antennas. But sometimes it happened that I was thinking, maybe there's interference I get on it from some of the stuff real close to it, or so, sometimes you move it around and stuff. And I haven't seen any cases of interference getting into it by anything around it in any way. Very shielded, very well shielded. Up to dawn. Let's not worry. Alabama is here. Nice to have you there. Mickey Damage. Wow, BBC in Hawaii should be easy from Singapore, really. Yeah, Singapore should be a good one. I don't know. But sometimes it's, it's weird because sometimes it's the angle of transmission. They are broadcasting towards a target area. Sometimes you're in that target area vicinity and at another place you're not. So it's weird. I need to tune in with some Hawaii. I guess there must be a couple of Hawaii and Kiwi SDRs out there. I should be checking that out. The DJK, always surprised of how strong radio China International comes in direct from China transmitters. So yeah, they say they are broadcasting. A lot of the broadcast is at 500 kilowatts. So that's a lot of power. Should make its way. Matt Ambale, nice to have you here. Years ago, I bought a VHF converter for my R8. It's very sensitive, quiet, and overpriced. More sensitive than most scanners. Great for weak signal work, but the price hurts. Yeah, it's it's something that is, I mean, for the price they sell it, it's possible that it's really sensitive, but it's it's the prices they ask for that thing is crazy. JJ, what an awesome show and group. New to all this stuff, man. Exciting stuff. Cool. Welcome aboard. You missed the rabbit. Oh, the rabbit stayed over there. Yeah, I have to put back the rabbit. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll take note of. It looks sad. I'll take note of finding a little spot for the rabbit. You're right. It needs to be here. Matt says, and this would be cool if true. I'd love to see a big solar cycle. So it's kind of interesting. I looked at those two things kind of lean in the same direction. Big solar cycle. I don't know. Of the dawn. So basically the sun is going to fry. I would guess you say fry the internet and Sony will start production of the 7600 again. Oh man. Eric Cottrell, yeah, they have those football games usually on Saturdays on REE Radio Exterior España. Absolutely. Tony Turtle, nice to have you here. Klaus, nice to have you on board. Okay, thanks, Klaus. So Voice of Hope, it is really originating from Zambia. This is so cool. I had I didn't think I could hear Voice of Hope. I need to QSL. I need to send a reception report. I have to check that out tomorrow. So Zambia coming in. Wow. That was so amazing. Cool. This is so cool. Chas Tank, nice to have you here. Jerry Markkanen, can you hear Vera station from Finland? Frequency 6170 or less 11720. Most of the time I don't hear it at all here. It's pretty much impossible to receive. I've tried it so many times and never a peep of a signal. Like the Scandinavian weekend radio and all this stuff there is like I can't get it. Ricardo, nice to have you on board from Portugal. Hope you're doing well, my friend. What else do we have? Hector Vasquez, nice to have you here. Doing well. Doing well. From the Los Angeles area, California. Yeah, a lot of the water pipes. And here, actually, there was the city passed a leaflet in the mailboxes saying that, you know, they need everybody that owned a house or, you know, the landlord here had to check for lead in the pipes because a lot of the houses and a lot of the piping done in the 50s, 60s was done with lead. And of course, that's kind of we've kind of learned over time that it's a kind of a poison, basically. Kamezi 76 6065 coming in weekly 6070 overpowering here. Lee Thompson W88 QFE, nice to have you here. Stephen Wood, never had a logging of Scandinavian Recon Radio here 6170 now Algeria. Something on 11720, but here 11720 is right now I think is going to be, let me check it out, 11720. It's Voice of America. 11720 is Voice of America right here. It's usually the time when they have that really strong signal from Greenville, North Carolina. So aerial imaging, take screwdriver to radio. Cool. Anyone want to buy a Drake R8 conversion module for $300? Man. Lee Thompson, old radios rock. Still use a Drake R4B and R2B. Cool. And aerial imaging is only half kidding. Let me just check email for a second here. Let's say hello to Elizabeth in Regina, Saskatchewan, saying hello to everybody. And she is ready to listen to the signals from around the world on her Kenwood R5000. Thank you for everything you do. Hello to everyone. So thanks. What else do we have? What else do we have? So Gordon Lyle, nice to have you here. Also saying hello on the email. We have Alex that is located in northern part of Spain. And he says that he's been watching the live show for the past few weeks, really enjoying the content. And he's got a series of questions here that he says, if you have time, would be fun to have a few answers to these questions. So what we're going to do, I've got some questions from a guy called Jake. And he's located in Canada, actually. He's located in Alberta, Canada. What I hesitated on Alberta because I was thinking of Elizabeth in Saskatchewan, and for some reason my brain froze. He's got a lot of questions also, and he's brand new to the hobby. So we're gonna answer those questions from Jake and Alex. So welcome aboard. So we're going to keep that. I'm going to answer some of them, and there's a lots of. We're going to answer some of them today, and we'll kind of go through them as shows go, and some of them also giving me an idea of some videos to do. Also, I've been having a hard time making videos this week, but I should be ready for a killer week of videos coming up. So you guys are going to have a lot of stuff that we're going to talk about on the channel. D1DJK, I stick with my S350DL and Texan DR920C radios and do not want any other radios. And that's okay. I mean, what you have, if you love it and it works great, is all you need. One of the biggest problems, I think, that we see is the fact that it's a little complex right now on the Harby with the noise around us. I often get a question of, well, I'm not receiving much with this radio. If I buy that $400 radio, will the noise go away? There's kind of the general thinking that, well, a better radio might have less noise in it. Well, a better radio will not have less noise. If it's noisy where you are, a $1,000 radio will have as much noise in it, and you won't hear that much more, or even not anything more than a $200 radio. It's in another way that you got to look at it, and you got to just find a way to enjoy the hobby the best you can. That's a tough one for noise, because one of the biggest problems with noise is often you have no control over it. When the noise comes from your home, you can deal with it. You can find a way to unplug this and unplug that and try this or that. But unfortunately, when it's from somewhere else, it happens very often that you got no choice. If you live in an apartment building, that is the worst place you can be for shortwave in general, because everybody's close together in the same building. Everybody has different technologies that they use. And so forget it. It's, the noise comes from so many sources and so many people around you. You're in, noise hell, basically. And shortwave is an almost impossible thing. People that live in, condos, especially when, it's like big complexes, if it's just a 3 condo house, maybe you can deal something there. But when it's like, those big complex where it's like, 20 stories high of condos, it's like, okay, you're going to be in the middle of a bubble of noise there because of the different technologies, the different ways that people, the lighting systems used and so on. That is the hard part. And so a lot of people will say, well, maybe if I buy a better radio, I'm going to get something. And the problem is, I'll be very fair. The radios today are very similar. There might be a small difference between one and another. But if you're at a decent level of a portable radio, you're probably already getting pretty much anything anybody else is getting. It's just that more expensive radios have added bells and whistles, have added technology to have more filters and things that might actually improve on the harder to hear signals. But overall, sensitivity of radios has gone and reached pretty much a level where that's where we're, it won't be more than that, because it won't get more. We're at that peak, and most radios are close to or at the peak. The rest now is what can you do about the noise? Because that's where it's all going to be decided suddenly. And that's the antenna, having an outdoor antenna if possible. Magnetic loops are the best choice if the noise is really a problem. And I'm sorry, but for some in the hobby, the only fun you'll have is going somewhere else, taking your radio for a walk. Some people walk their dogs. You can walk your radio. And you can use your radio in a park, or take a day when there's a beautiful day outside. Take it as an adventure. Take the radio with you. Go have fun in a park somewhere. Take it easy. Enjoy the beautiful weather, and try out your radio where you're far away from the homes and the houses and the buildings and the businesses around you. And when I say far, people are in the impression that, well, if I need to go 30 kilometers away from my house. No. Here, when I go to the park that's nearby, just being, 30 meters away or 40 meters away from homes is already a huge difference. It's already a huge difference. And very surprising how it adds to all the signals you suddenly start hearing around you. Unfortunately, and that is the sad part of our hobby, some of you will have to do that to enjoy the hobby. You won't be able to do it at home, or it will be very difficult to do so. That's part of why the hobby is kind of dying at the same time. I mean, the noise is so high, let's open a Dublin's Pub apple cider number 2. Looks like an ad. I should call them up and say, well, I've got an ad on the channel that I've done. Can you actually send me a free cider or money? So anyways, unfortunately, that for some people will be a thing. And in the 80s, we would listen to the radio easily. In the 80s, there was a lot of signals, first of all, because a lot of the broadcasts were transmitted towards our region. If you look at the schedule today, there is still a lot of things on shortwave. Just look at the huge list that EIBI Space has. It tells you that shortwave broadcasting is far from being dead. There are thousands of entries in there. Where it's a problem is that the powerhouse signals we're used to from the past, that's where it's a problem. A lot of stations do not broadcast to us anymore in North America. So the BBC, it's like I constantly see somebody watching one of my videos and saying, oh, so the BBC decided to come back on shortwave. And I always tell them they never left shortwave. They just stopped broadcasting to North America, which is a different thing. So people are in the impression sometimes that a station is gone. I had somebody ask me a question. Voice of America is not on shortwave anymore, right? Yes, it is. And I sent some frequencies and times. And I said, it's just that most of their signals, except 11720, which is a very strong one in North America right now, actually, from 2122 UT. It's like, they're broadcasting to Africa and other parts of the world. They never, first of all, Voice of America never broadcast to North America. They never had. The target audience was not the United States. And actually, if you look at Voice of America, they always said, if you're a U.S. citizen, this is not for you. Don't ask anything and don't ask for a QSL. But they had several broadcasts to the Caribbean. And that was what we were hearing. Most of the strong signals were the broadcast to the Caribbean. So, so add to the fact that there were big gun powerful stations broadcasting to North America that are gone, like, Radio Berlin, Radio Moscow, Radio Netherlands, it was a winner combination back in the 80s and 70s because you could use any radio. Our homes were in the 70s and 80s, had very low noise. And you just turned on the radio and there was stuff there. It was easy. You could be sitting in your living room and listen all night. You know, that's pretty much what happened with my DX100 when I started listening in 1982. I turned it on, started going around, and it's like, wow, there's a lot of stuff. I'm going to have to analyze that and see what I'm listening to and try to understand what I'm listening to. If I had a DX100 today at 13 years old, turn it on, I would be, I don't know what I would think. I mean, I would still probably hear some stuff at night like Radio Romania and Cuba, and I mean, you know, some of the relays from WRMI. Being curious and amazed at all of that, I would maybe still be amazed. I don't know. But man, it wasn't like, and I remember being mad in the 80s because my receivers didn't have enough, you know, the filters are too wide on a lot of the radios. And it was hard to receive. Stations were so jam-packed next to each other every 5 kilohertz. I remember being mad because I had a hard time listening to Radio RSA because 5 kilohertz above or below, there's another station and it's interfering with it. Or, you know, that was a very common issue. That was the major issue of the 70s and 80s and even probably the 60s. It was, yeah, getting that little signal in the middle of all the other signals is the tough part. It's very difficult. So that was the deal. But today, there's less powerful signals for some target areas. Mix in there the very high noise that we have of all the electronics. And imagine you're a newbie to the hobby. You are now a new guy in the hobby. It's easy to see that after a couple of days, you're going to throw the radio away and say, yeah, that thing doesn't work. I'm going to return it. It's defective. Or I'm going to return it. This is a scam. You can't listen to the world on this. UWE 57er. Nice to have you here from Germany. Miss Carest. Right now I'm on 11720, which is the Voice of America, which unfortunately, and I find it sad, I'd like to have more talk on that 1 hour. It's really a music show. Larry Cordy, nice to have you here from New York. SVR work, yep. BBC from Singapore, definitely not targeting the Pacific region. Canadian radio TV guy, nice to have you here. SVR work's been getting RTM Malaysia. Wow, I had 09 on 11665. Catalan, nice to have you here from Germany. Aerial Imaging says, in some ways, the old tube type receivers are still better. The audio that comes from them are just different. We've gotten accustomed to the sharp synthetic audio of microcircuitry. Yeah, I'm not much into that. The audio is different because it's tubes or transistors, because it's all about the filtering and the electronics themselves. You know, all the radios back then had big speakers, bigger than what most radios have today. So that's one part of the different audio. But transistorized or microchips that are well done for me, and here I'm talking because I know that there's that controversy and that thing. You know, I know some people buy tube amps because of it's a richer sound. and this is my own personal opinion, and I don't want to start any war here. It's just that when I think in terms of electronics only, okay, I can't really see that you cannot have the same sound on transistorized equipment. They simply, it's simply electronics and amplification, and then it's filtering, and then it's using the right speakers and all. That's where I am more at, and I am more at the old tube receivers sounded great because the old tube receivers were always with bigger speakers, and the power amplifier was, of course, often more powerful because it was tubes used, but not necessarily because it was the tubes. It's not necessarily because tubes were used in it. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised that if you actually built the exact transistorized circuit that would fit in a tube socket and work as a tube, but with transistors, and fire up that radio, first of all, you would have no delay when you turn it on, but you would have the same audio coming out of it. That's my take on it. And, I know there's like some really think tubes are better for audio. And, I got a Valve State Marshall amplifier here, which is two parts. It has the tube part, it has the transistor part. They are, a friend of mine, I paid that $600 in 1991, an 80-watt combo. And somebody that I mentioned it a couple of years ago said, "Oh, I'm going to give you $1,000 for it." They are all looking to that because of the tubes and all of it. And it's like I played with it a lot on the tube side, and it didn't sound the same. But my take on that is it's just that because it isn't. The circuits are not exactly the same. It's not a case of a tube or a transistor. But that's my take. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's my logical electronic side that's talking more than anything else. What else do we have? D1DJK, looking forward to 24th of December. Then NDR is on Shortwave again with a special program for Seaman. Oh yeah, the that special program that happens like every year. Yeah. Okay, let's try to get a little faster to reach down. 1-0. Canada says hi. Nice to have you here. Canadian Radio TV, guys, has been moving my MLA 30 plus loop antenna to about 5 feet high on a fence behind the garage to try to get it away from some of the local QRM noise. Tried using a drop amp, also turned all the circuit breakers off. Still haven't been able to locate the noise, even by walking around with one of my portables around the house and street. It seems to be anywhere around 858, 6200. It could be the power. It could be, the cabling outside. It could be a general overall noise all around from the wiring of, the utility poles and all sort. It's crazy, but when you can't pinpoint any location of a noise, that points a lot to, well, that's something broad that's happening with, I don't know, the fiber optics or the the DSL cabling, telephone poles, electricity, and it's kind of everywhere. Kathleen, ever thought of getting a dog? I love dogs, but no, never really thought about getting a dog. it's a lot of, I don't see myself going outside at 5 in the morning to walk the dog. Madame Ballet says, call me nuts. Please do. But I'd say that the VHF converter is worth it. If you're chasing DX at VHF, it's not worth it if you're just tuning local stations. Might as well use a scanner. I don't know. It's maybe it is. Everybody saying hello to Elizabeth. Kimberly, K6YYL. Nice to have you here from California. D1DJK, noise is killing every shortwave hobby. No doubt about it. Yep. Noise is a big, big problem. I mean, anyone, I don't know how many times I had somebody come back to me and said, somebody had said, I took your advice and I went away one day and brought the radio with me. And I was so amazed to see all the signals suddenly. And that's where you see that remove the noise around you and suddenly the bands are alive. The bands are alive. That's pretty crazy. Catalin says there's missing likes. Hit the like button. We're at 180 watching. Pretty nice. Joe, my ICOM IC7200 has plenty of noise on a grounded 53 feet random wire and RFI choke balun. Radioactive, yeah, I saw your post. Your email. We're going to check that out, and we'll check out all the things we're going to talk about tomorrow. So, Page Master, well, I guess I can say this to everyone. We are all amateur radio operators for the love of radio. Yes, absolutely. Mark, I am getting a carrier popping up out of the noise on 11780, not really receiving audio, but occasionally a noise resembling talking. Could it be Brazil? Absolutely. It's a big, big possibility. Let me check it out here. Yeah, it is. Their audio is a little low. So that is Brazil, 11780. But the audio is low. So you might see a carrier and have a hard time listening in because the audio is not high enough. But that is definitely Radio Nacional Amazonas from Brazil. 11780. Dennis Whitehead, nice to have you here. I'm fine. Where are you? So it is, like D1DJK, only solution against impossible shortwave to do noise is doing the hot side. But, you can see the frustration you could have sometimes of, I'd like to listen to whatever I want to listen to inside, Let me try here. It's 2130.
In the more than 18,000
Radio Romania on 6170.
Members of the future parliament. The Romanians abroad will vote for today's the first polling stations from abroad.
Also on 7310, but it's very weak here on 7310.
Of the US and Canada.
6170 Radio Romania English.
Romanians with a right to vote reside abroad. Of them, more than 39,000 are registered for postal voting. The Romanian Foreign Ministry opened 748 polling stations abroad and launched an interactive map of all polling stations and a hotline for Romanian voters living abroad. A number of localities are in lockdown in Romania, but...
So Radio Romania coming in, not not too bad. 6170. Kathleen says, "Yep, for walking the radio, been there, done that many times." Oh man. Lee Thompson goes camping 45 miles away to get on the air in a wilderness area on most weekends. Cool. It is a little sad, when you get back to your main shack, your main home, and you had all of those signals, and there's not, almost none of them are there on when you come back home, and it's like, oh man. Bernie Dodge, the future of shortwave is in accessible remote receivers, I think. Yeah and no, for a reason. I mean, I do enjoy, for example, tuning in to Kiwi SDRs when it's possible to hear some signals, or sometimes just compare, does that area receive that signal? Or see if something is online, or often what I'll do is I'll see somebody say, "Oh, the buzzer seems off," and I'll go use a European SDR to check 4625 to see if it's off or not. The problem, it's a radio online somewhere, but it's not your radio. And there's part of the fun I think we have as radio enthusiasts is that, like earlier, I felt like a little kid again. I was hearing Voice of Hope Zambia, and it was kind of, oh, this is so cool. It comes from Zambia on my radio here, received with my antenna outside on my balcony here in Montreal. There's fun about that. Yeah, it's it's like if I use if I use the U20 receiver in the Netherlands and I listen to it, it's cool. I mean, it's still a radio over there. The technology around it is kind of nice and cool, and it's receiving that station, but it's more fun to receive it here at my home location and be happy that I'm actually hearing a signal from Zambia here. It's even... that's the coolest thing. So it's kind of crazy. Yeah, and that's the other thing also, like here, we're like at this time of the year, going outside with your radio is like kind of not the best thing to do. Yeah, that's one thing that we got to check out also. I guess I missed a question, maybe. Mark Gonzalo probably asked a question. Would I get the audio if I get the MLA30 higher another few meters? No, that has nothing to do with it. The magnetic loops are not known to be much better because they're higher, and you'll not get more audio or... the positioning of the antenna, including an MLA30 loop, it's simple. They don't require you to have them very high in general, the loops. If you have a long wire, things like that, yeah, okay, off the ground, the higher off the ground it is, the better. But for like a loop like an MLA30, it doesn't need to be very high. And very often people that put it higher don't see much of a difference. Where you could see a difference is it's still, because that's the thing, the MLA30 still gets radio frequency interference from around it. It is better at dealing with it, but it still receives interference. So the positioning of it in different places to try out, or have it as far away from your house as possible, is the natural thing to try, because you might find it in one position in one place. It's actually going to get less noise than it did at another spot. So what I often will say is, if you have some space and some different, you get home with that MLA30 arrives at your home, start thinking about one simple thing. How many places, where can you position it in your home in general? That is what you need to look at. How, is it going to be better if I put it in, the back, the front? Is one part of my yard? If I have, here I got 2 balconies. I'm going to try the front, the back balcony. Is it different? Is it better in the back? Is it better in the front? Where is it better? So, for example, right now, my MLA30, I got 2 MLA30s outside, plus my W6 LVP. My MLA30, my main MLA30 Plus is in the front. My W6 LVP is in the front. But I am trying right now a MLA30 in the backyard. What I'm noticing is that in one part of the spectrum, the one in the back receives better. And the reason it receives better is because there's less noise in that frequency range in the back. But for the rest, it's the reverse. It actually receives less than the one in the front. So what it says is that each area has a different noise pattern, if you want. And you'll have to find, if you have space and you can move around with the antenna, you'll have to find what's the best spot for that antenna that I could use, and know that, okay, well, from now on, this is where it's going to be. This is where it's performing better. Another thing that I've noticed is, a meter away from each other and distance is enough to make a difference in the noise and the reception and everything, mostly because of the noise. So that's the first thing. The other thing is it's directional. So what you want to do is, once you position it somewhere, for most shortwave listening, what you'll want to do is position it by rotating it into the lowest noise you have and leave it like that. That's the best install you can do on the MLA30. Lower noise possible, leave it like that. Because on most long distance shortwave signals, it isn't, the directional pattern isn't that much of a problem. It is only if stations are very local. So for example, here, if I listen to Radio Romania, if I rotate my antenna, there's very little difference. If I listen to CHU, that it's in Ottawa on 3330, I can null it out. That's such a close signal for me that actually I can null the signal. That becomes very directional with a very close signal. Same for medium wave. Medium wave DXing on an MLA30, you're going to rotate the antenna. You're going to want to rotate that thing because you're going to null out some stations and, and enhance others. That's for sure. And also, like Matt says, in the very long nights when we are living in higher latitudes, like here in Montreal is 45 degrees north, 45.5 degrees north. You guys in the UK, you guys are even closer to the pole than we are. The nights become very long at this time of year. And a lot of the higher frequencies die off quite rapidly with the long winter nights. So that also is something to understand. I always say that every season has its own best moment for radio. And because, I see all the time, it's like, oh, winter's coming in, it's DX season. For me, DX season, and that's my personal take on it of 38 years of really active listening. For me, DX season is all the time. But it's different. It depends what you do in your hobby. DX season, if you're a medium wave DXer, long wave DXer, no doubt, winter is the best. Shortwave, lower frequencies, winter time, of course, will also enhance that. But DXing on the full spectrum of shortwave, every season has its fun, has its time of day and frequency range that you'll be concentrating on. That's why Radio New Zealand at night here on 13840 is a no-no now. It's like it doesn't even come in. I don't even see a peep of a signal on the frequency at night. But yet in July, I listen to it pretty much every night and with a very good signal. That is what I mean. Every season has its frequency and time to listen to different things from around the world. What I like at this time of year, because we're now December, January, we're here. We're, you know, whatever the days are not going to be that much more, that much shorter now. You know, we've kind of reached here in our high latitudes the peak of the long nights for the next month and a half, you know. And that's typical winter propagation. Well, here, my fun in winter propagation is the afternoon, local afternoon. So here in the East Coast, I'll be listening in from starting at, 1700 UTC. You start already at 17 UTC here in Montreal, getting European signals, even on the 49 meter band. That in the summertime is dead. The only thing I hear on 49 meters in July is at 17 UT is CFRX in Toronto, and that's all. But at this time of year, for me, 17 UT or 18 UT is a hell of a lot of fun with 49, 41, 31, and 25 meters. Plus, if you have high solar activity, the higher solar activity like we have now, you had the fun of the higher frequencies also to check out. In the summertime, if I will have a listening session, well, the afternoon isn't as fun, except for the high frequency range. So at 17 UT and in the summertime, I'll probably not get much signals here. I might get something on the 19 meter band if solar activity is good, 16 meter band, but it's kind of more quiet. It's not the best time of day to listen to. Signals start getting in later in the afternoon, but the evening is great and all night is great. It's a question of, that's experience and listening, and been a guy that's been listening for a long time. All the experience around radio listening, all the experience of having listened to shortwave for so long. And you see those patterns year after year repeat. So that's one of the things you got to be careful, because I've seen people saying, well, I listen always from 20 to 22 hours UTC is my time when I listen to shortwave. Well, that solar activity must be bad, because for the last couple of weeks I've been not hearing anything. And you look at the frequencies they're tuning, at the time they're tuning, where they are located, and you're like, you got to change that pattern. You can't listen. Shortwave is not AM FM radio. You can't listen to the same frequency range at the same period of time year long and expect that it's always the same and it's always good. Another thing that this one makes me sick. I'm really tired of seeing it, of hearing it. And the place I hear it the most is amateur radio operators. And they're all like, well, solar activity is low. I'm going to turn off the radio for the next few years because nothing's going to be on. And when I hear that, I want to scream, because I want everybody to stop thinking that even though we're going in a higher solar cycle that's going to light up the higher frequencies, I am tired of hearing that, when the cycle is, when the solar flux at 68, well, there's nothing to listen to. It's crappy. Nope. That is totally untrue. And I say it and say it again. My best DX was done in the low parts of solar cycles. It all depends on the frequencies you're listening to. 49 meters is barely affected by a solar flux that's low. 49 meters is rarely in the zone of being unusable at night. It is very usable at night, whether solar activity is high or low. There are frequencies that are barely affected by the solar cycle. So when I see somebody say, well, so we're going back down to the solar minimum, I'll turn out the radio for the next few years. Well, you're missing out on a lot of fun because you're totally don't understand how it works. That's something that I see so much. It's like everybody going crazy at, oh man, solar cycle is slowly coming up. Yes, it's going to wake up the high frequencies and the 10-meter band and all of that. But I'm going to tell you, when we get, even if we get a very high solar maximum, okay, in the next 3 to 4 years, I bet you a lot of people are going to be like, well, it's good, but it's not as good as it used to be. There must be something about that solar cycle. No, it doesn't have to do, it had nothing to do with that. So many times the bands are open. Nobody just goes and talk. I'm looking at the 10-meter band. The 10-meter band at a solar flux of 100 was open pretty much every day this week. There's nobody there because nobody's trying it. The problem is often more in the user side than anything else. And that's the big problem. There's this tendency to think that we have to wait to the peak of a solar cycle to have best 10 meter, for example, or to wait at that time or do this or that, or it's very complex, but at the same time, there's too much misunderstanding of, the interaction with all of that at the same time. You do have tons of things to listen to any single time, whether you're at a high or low peak of, or the minimum of the solar cycle. Stop thinking, solar minimum, I hope it picks up soon because I'm getting nothing. You're going to get nothing in 2 years. And I think one of the major factors that's happening right now is that people mix up the higher and higher noise with the fact we went to solar minimum. And that's what I mean by people are going to be surprised that you're not going to get more. You're still going to say, well, the bands are so bad. The bands are not that bad most of the time. I've seen people say, well, the bands are bad tonight. They're not. You have too much noise in your location. That makes the bands bad. Because if you had removed that noise, you'd see that band was actually very active. And I see it very often with people not that far from where I live. Like, oh, wow, I get 3 stations on 49 meters. Well, I got 16. And that's where you kind of, and of course, the general impression will be always put on, oh, the bad solar cycle, oh, the bad solar activity. It's too easy to bash on the bad solar activity all the time. I'm tired of hearing that because it is not the case. And 80% of the times I saw somebody is like, oh, well, we're at solar minimum. That's why it's crappy today. Nope. It was not crappy, actually, in my location. You probably have too much noise. And that's why I end up saying, in 2 years, even if we're at solar maximum, the higher frequency is going to light up a lot. And hopefully people are going to go and use those frequencies like the 10-meter band. But I will bet you that a lot of people are going to be like, well, must be a small solar cycle. I don't hear anything much more than solar minimum because the noise level is crept up slowly. And that's the problem of noise. The noise level is creeping up slowly on us. So today, if your noise at S5 on a certain frequency, can bet you that in a year, 2 years from now, you're going to look at the same frequency. It's like, well, I used to have S5 noise. Now I've got S7 noise. What the hell's happening? And that noise creeping up on us is creating a problem that is much more difficult to deal with and gives us a false impression of, well, it's solar minimum. That's why it's crappy. The same impression, that when somebody sends me a message and says, you know what, I went to a park with my radio, like you said, and I was amazed at how many signals are there. So that's where you see the bands are not dead. They're dead because we have too much noise and we can't hear what's in it. And that's the big problem. But we got to stop bashing on the solar cycle and always thinking that it's a miracle cure of listening to radio. Because I bet you there's a bunch of guys that are going to be very, very sad in 2-3 years at solar maximum and say, well, that cycle must be bad because it's like there's really a lot of noise and it has nothing to do with the solar cycle. You're noisy around you. And that hasn't changed since solar minimum. And maybe it's worse than when you were in solar minimum. So you're not getting anything more. So there are a lot of things you got to be careful with. One of the things of the long winter nights, like we were talking, is the fact that the night side of things is in lower frequencies. That also is something that what we don't understand for a lot of people. What are the bands the most affected by noise are the lowest. So very often, nighttime it's hell for a lot of people because where do you get a lot of the noise? Or a lot of people, it's in the lower frequencies. And it's really crazy, Rich, at home, use a well-shielded coax to your antenna. Yep, absolutely. That's a must to remove as much noise as you can. Chastang says, you're right about that. Some would not believe that my low-cost radio was picking up certain stations. They said the low-cost unit couldn't do it. Yeah, and there's, there are differences, but I can tell you that it's crazy. How a lot of the radios today are just, really amazing. And you don't have to pay that much money. Matt, it's not impossible, but I can observe anecdotally that I had no reception of Radio New Zealand on 11725 at least last night. And sometimes I can get it in spite of the nighttime conditions in Colorado. Yeah, it can happen. And that path at that time also, you got to remember that part of it is in the sunshine. So solar activity will have something to play with it. There will be something there also. Aerial Imaging says, when I really want to get down with some shortwave, I kill the main breaker of the house. I run my stuff from a UPS at my radio desk. Not often I get to do it because my wife isn't a fan of it. I don't think your wife would be very, very, very happy to live in that situation for a long time. Ricardo says, when I'm on the country house, it's a radio bliss, no noise. Yep. That's the thing. Steve King, 11720, coming in nice into Australia. Wow. That's Voice of America. So, we got to do the best we can anyways with our hobby, basically. Leif Halvorsen, hello from the Arctic Circle. Is there any shortwave listening out there trying to the MFJ 1026 or 25 North Cancer? Many stations says it's working great. So anybody that use them, I have some opinions on that. Thanks and welcome, LA3DNA. Leif, nice to have you here. Matt says it's funny Voice of America not being for Americans, because pretty much anytime they're on the air from the Greenfield site, it rings right in here in Colorado. But I bet it skips a lot of the East. Yeah, a lot of, it's surprising because, Greenfield is further away, of course, from like, I often talk about WBCQ Monticello, Maine. But it's funny because the Greenville transmitter side almost always comes in fairly well here in Montreal also. So yeah, tomorrow the show, Catalan, is VHF to Daylight. Paul Jones, M6PMA, nice to have you on board from Liverpool, UK. Let's try to go down a little faster here. Brian Jones, M6OXO, nice to have you on board. Like I said, what do we have? Let's go down. The Wind, 1960 from Central New York. We have Radio Telescope. Nice to have you here. M0 ISA. Let me check it out. Yeah, rest in peace, Arecibo. Absolutely so sad. Catalan, theoretically, RDS can be used on the shortwave bands. Not really, because RDS is. What do you mean by RDS, by the way? Do you mean the RDS functionality of an FM station? Because RDS uses FM and is embedded in the signal, so the bandwidth being much smaller, it's kind of more difficult to have something like that there. Sheldon Harvey, nice to have you here from Greenfield Park, Quebec. Brian Jones, what radios do you run and do you get on HF? I'm always throwing out mega power. A full 3 watts. Well, I got a lot of radios here, but the main radios that I use, like here on the back on the screen, is the RSP DX from SDR Play. I do have a ICOM ICR 8500. I've got tons of little portables here and there. So there's a lot of stuff. D1 DJK, yes, the Texan AN 200 loop does work well with the S350DL and will actually improve medium wave a lot. Well, it really improves a lot. It's a fun antenna to play with for medium wave listening. Definitely. So, guys, I'm far behind. Be patient. I'm going to go a little faster. Stop on the main questions. If I haven't seen your questions, by the way, just mention it again, okay? Sheldon Harvey just finished the December 2020 CIDX Messenger. We're sending it to members in a few minutes, so that's going to be cool. We'll have the finished version of the cool CIDX. And here it is. And let's look at the, I'll show you guys the, always, the cover of the CIDX. So here it is. So look at that, guys. It's a small, but the December edition of the Messengers here. And so there's some great stuff in there. And I hope that you enjoy. It is a great publication. And I think you'll have a lot of fun with this for sure. Let me just check it out here. Yeah. Pretty cool. So why not join the CIDX and ask for a sample copy if you never did? CIDXclub@yahoo.com if you have never asked before, and check it out. It's real cheap to join, and you're part of a club, and the bulletin is super interesting. I think everybody has a little something they can actually learn and have fun with in there. David in Barcelona, EA3IEK. Nice to have you here, my friend from Spain. Bob T, nice to have you on board from Northeast Ohio. What else do we have? Thomas Lane, KC8TBY. Nice to have you here from Grand Rapids. Levi Nathan, nice to have you here from Israel. Yeah, that's a good question, James Johnson. I don't know if those that are in environments where all the cabling and the power cables are running underground, if it's less noisy or not. That's a pretty good question. So, Francis McClory, headphones make little radio sound good, and the separation is a lot better. Oh yeah, absolutely. Actually, DXing, real serious DXing, often is done with headphones because you have a much more rich audio, and since it kind of it also blocks out everything around you and whatever noise could be there. It makes it much easier to actually, listen to hard to hear stations that are stuck in the middle of interference. Rich 11780, strong audio, North Carolina, but sounds like the DJ is using heavy reverb. Yeah, that happens often, especially when they have sports stuff. Thomas Lane, loving the Thon 750. What's my opinion? I don't personally have much of an opinion because the 750, I don't have any personal experience comparing it with any other. So I have a hard time really. I can't really give an honest opinion on that for sure. What else do we have? Let me try to go down. Matt says, my dream is to have a remote, but not too remote place where I can set up a little antenna farm and a couple of SDRs. Someplace maybe an hour out of town would be my receiver still. Yeah. Thomas Lane, you nailed it. 69 years old. Remember the good old golden days of catching a far off signal on my portable rig. You know. What else do we have? It's not beer this time around. It's a Dublin's Pub apple cider that I'm having. Marco Perez. ¿Cómo está mi amigo from Querétaro, Mexico? Nice to have you here from what is a much colder Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Aerial imaging uses online SDRs like that as well, but if that's the future of shortwave radio streaming to a radio, why are we using radios to start with? Yeah, because we'll be in the you'll be in the using a computer. Squissy. Hello there from Italy. Radioactive propagation question. Is there a phenomena where you can hear the strong carrier, but the modulation is suppressed? Or is that always a technical issue of the transmitter? Most of the time, because there's a lot of propagation phenomena that do play around the signals, but most of them are more into the distortion of the audio and will not suppress the audio necessarily. Pretty much always when the audio is low, it's more of a transmitter issue. They're not pushing the modulation strong enough, much more than anything else. If there's a strong carrier and the audio is very low, most of the time will be at the transmitter side. They're just not modulating strong enough. Most propagation problems that happen on the audio side will be more of a distortion, because what will happen is sometimes the fact that it's unequal, an AM signal might actually be distorted because one side of the carrier isn't is at the same level as the other side because of all sorts of weird propagation characteristics. Joe Sambranuas, nice to have you here from Brazil. Juan Luis, nice to have you here from the Bronx, New York. Thomas Lane, what did you think is the best overall shortwave antenna for someone like me living in a one-bedroom apartment? That's a hard question to answer, but if you're in a high noise environment, probably a magnetic loop like the MLE30 is what will be your best bet to get a possible decent antenna to receive shortwave. WF7I Homebrew, very happy to finally be in a quiet RF area. Most of my life was dense, urban, noisy. Can hear much more DX than ever before. Cool. Lucky for you. Donald Hosmer, nice to have you here. W8SWL in West Branch, Michigan. Cold here, but no snow on the ground. Yeah, here it's like, we're at 32 Fahrenheit, 0 degrees. But, the Donald Hosmer. So what else do we have? Thomas Lane. Actually, decimation of the DXing hobby has nothing to do with solar cycles. It has more to do with much other things. Because I've had a great time listening to shortwave in the past years. Have you guys noticed I have never or don't really complain about solar cycle? I am happy that we're getting in a higher cycle for the higher frequencies. But look at how I don't complain about the solar cycle, because the DXing is still there. What else do we have? Oh yeah, the hurricanes and earthquakes probably didn't help the Arecibo telescope. I can tell you that. Aerial imaging. What can I do with long wave in North America? Is it actually possible to DX in that band from here? Some do, in very quiet environments with good antennas. But look here in Montreal, I've never heard, ever, a long wave station from Europe in there. Never. Yeah, for the most part, it's not directional beacons here in North America. Most of the people that I noticed receive long wave from overseas are closer to the ocean or closer to the coast. That helps them a lot. Nick, nice to have you here. K9XN from Northwest Indiana. Matt says higher selectivity brings higher geomagnetic noise. We've seen in such a deep solar cycle that probably some of us have forgotten what it's like. Yeah, there's all sorts of phenomena because there's a lot of things that happen with a solar cycle, with solar activity. It's a world on its own. The noise can sometimes induce noise. There's a lot of things that can happen. The high solar activity is fun, but those solar flares can make one solar flare on the Earth side facing the sun will have shortwave fade outs. It could actually make shortwave almost zero. Solar flares can also induce CMEs, coronal mass ejections, that will create really strong geomagnetic storms. There are downsides to higher solar activity also, but think of solar activity when it gets higher, mostly opening up the higher frequencies that have been pretty much dead. Canadian radio TV guy finds that 5850 isn't that strong of a signal as of recently. Yeah, it all has to do more with propagation, the time. It's like 9395 and 7780 from WRMI. In December, January, here in Montreal, that's a tough receive. Some nights it's there. Depends on a lot of it depends a bit on the solar activity, but it depends on many different factors. Because there's a lot of that is, due to the fact that we have very long nights, it changes the ionosphere a lot. It's not like in the summer days. Elite Data says, it's been a while since I watched your channel due to a busy life, but new microphone sounds excellent. Thank you very much. Nice to have you here. And thanks for the nice comments. Marco Perez, 11780 is the football live from Brazil. Cool. What else do we have? What else do we have? Radio Yankee says, I don't recognize solar cycles. Thanks from K2YK. Thomas Lane, how badly does a modem router interfere with shortwave? It depends on the device. Some are quiet. I don't seem to get noise from my modem or router. Here, the power supplies that come with them are switching power supplies, obviously, but they seem to be fairly quiet for shortwave. But it's not every device that's like that. A lot of them are very noisy. It depends on the model. So, you know. Joseph, we need better and more varied content on shortwave. Well, if you listen to the different types of broadcasts that come to you, there's quite a lot of stuff that is pretty varied, depending on listening to the different stations on the bands, on shortwave bands, and so on. You know, of course, if we get stuck into the pattern of listening to the powerful U.S. religious stations all the time, that's kind of, yeah. And it depends also on the type of content we all like. You know, everybody's different what they want to hear also on the air. Lee Thompson, 10 meters always open for a contest. You know, it's like people talk about crappy bands, but then comes a contest and it's like, well, the bands don't look that crappy. Look at all the different countries that are actually contesting right now. It's, yeah, because you go on, you know, I think where one of the problems lie on people thinking the bands are bad, they call CQ, they don't have an answer back. And the problem is not that the band was dead. The problem is there was just no one there. I think that is another issue we got to understand. Calling CQ, not getting an answer might just mean, well, nobody's there. You know, call CQ on 15 meters this week. I can bet you that maybe you're not going to get that much of a response. Not because your signal didn't make it. You know, I've actually, as a listener, heard several stations calling CQ from Europe to North America. And after 5-10 minutes of trying, they stop. They don't, it's like, I'm sure that ham thinks, well, the band isn't making it to North America. But I, you know, as a listener, I couldn't tell him. But as a shortwave listener, is like, no, your signal is super powerful here. So if I hear it in Montreal, there are other people that hear it. But there was just nobody there to answer back. So that's one part where you can actually have the impression that, oh, well, propagation must be bad today. Because I called CQ, nobody answered. That's a big problem. Yeah, that is possible. There are different models out there. You know, I'm lucky. What I do is like I purchase a router. Because here's pretty much what I do in general. Is I purchase a device. So if I purchase a router, now, okay, on the modem side, I don't have choice. On the modem side, it's my ISP, my internet service provider. My internet service provider is always, you know, is giving me the modem. I can't choose. There's no choice for me. It's whatever they have is what I have. I'm lucky. They seem to be very quiet. But the router is my own because they offer a router because it's part of my service. But I always tell them, And I want to have your router. I want to have my router that I control and do what I want with. Because I have, last time the lady on the phone was like, well, I don't understand why you don't want to have a free router from us. And I said, because I do live shows on YouTube. I need perfect HD all the way, all the time. And the only way to do that is to have control of what device I use and know that it's a good one. So I want my router. I'll do what I want with it. That's all. If there are some routers out there, like there are some modems out there that are crazy noisy and just are crazy nuts in noise generation. Mickey Delvage says, I agree 100% with you, Shell. Nigel, Don, and I have been getting together 2 to 3 times a year for many years and always hear some great DX, whether the top or the bottom of the solar cycle. So many DXers have missed out of interesting DX because they do not turn the radios on. Exactly. That's the main problem. Why is the band crappy? Most of the time, where you are, you're too much noise. It craps the band out. There's so many things that will actually crap the bands for you way before anything happening with the solar cycle, with the sun. Yes, the sun can crap out the bands totally. That said, but it's way too fast. I'm tired of hearing everybody complaining about the solar cycle. Oh well, it's solar minimum. Bands are crappy, eh? No, there's nobody out there because everybody's always saying the bands are crappy. So everybody's like getting into the same mode of let's turn on the radio. That's not turn on the radio because everybody says the bands are crappy. Yeah, why don't you just turn it on and try it by yourself and stop looking at those darn internet charts that says it's good, it's bad, it's who cares? I don't care. I never look at the charts on the internet. Never. Useless. And it's, you know what? You're not going to turn on your radio because you look at the chart that says, 40 meters is bad tonight, apparently. Let's go watch Netflix. No, you missed out on maybe the best DX that you ever could have had. Stop looking at the charts. I am tired of that. Those charts mean nothing. Nothing. They are extremely limited in the information they give. 40 meters is bad. Oh, really? I heard South Africa when that chart said 40 meters is bad. Oh, that was bad. I heard South Africa on 40 meters. Him, he didn't even run 1 kilowatt. He had like 100 watts. We got to stop. It's useless to watch these things. What chart and what example you need to use to know if the bands are open? Turn on the radio, call CQ, do something, listen. Stop looking at what is biasing you. It's like you're watching the chart. Well, apparently anything below 10 megahertz is bad tonight. Yeah. Did you turn on the radio and start tuning on your own where you live with your antenna? I can tell you. Could be very surprised. Those things are useless. I'm sorry, but I never look at them. When I see somebody like post the picture of the chart, it's like, well, look at that tonight. Everything's crappy. No. I bet you didn't even take the time to listen and make your own opinion rather than look at a chart from some observatory somewhere that says, yeah, well, according to us, the bands are really bad tonight. So turn off that radio and go home. Come on. Turn on the radio, tune. Stop looking at charts. Stop looking at, whatever the internet has to tell you if yes or no. It's, just tune around. Just tune around. That's the real test. Turning on your radio and going around the frequencies. Keegan says, I have a laptop computer next to my Ethon Grenic Edition Field BT radio, noise on medium wave and possibly shortwave, not as bad on shortwave. Yeah, some do a lot of noise. WOHP 1390, nice to have you here, my friend. D1DJK, Also happy with the QTH. It's not too much noise. I have to be somewhat happy, honestly. When you look at my location, I'm smack in the middle of Montreal. Things could be much worse than they are for me than right now. So I heard Zambia in the middle of a big city. Kind of cool. That's kind of cool. Nick says, I need to go around my house and track down noise from chargers and power supplies from time to time. Seem to find something causing problems every time with all the electronics the family has. Yeah. The Texan 990X, which is the same as the Texan 990, is an amazing receiver. I love it for a portable receiver. That said, you guys hear me say that I love the radio. It's an amazing radio. But that said, from saying that to telling you guys to buy that instead of an XH Data D808, well, I'm not there because it is more expensive, a lot more expensive. And I don't want people to purchase that thinking they'll get something they're not going to get on another radio, which is absolutely untrue. I want to always say that. The Texan PL990 or 990X, they are the same radio, by the way. One is export version, one is the local Chinese version. You will not get on a 990X a station that you don't get on a Texan PL660 or on a XH Data D808. Both will receive the same signal, but it has some tuning abilities. Like tuning's SSB is a much more interesting experience and much more precise experience on the Texan 990X. Stuff like that makes it better. The audio makes it better. But don't buy a 990X thinking, oh, now I'm going to DX the world. You'll DX the world with an XH Data D808. So go with your budget and buy what you can buy, and it still does the job. That's what I will say. Artist Ollie Crafter's Kitchen, the only station I'm trying to pick up WBCQ. Yeah, it skips over you in Massachusetts. It's like here. It skips over Montreal. I mean, it is Monticello, Maine is so close to Montreal in terms of location around the world. The frequencies they use pretty much jump over Montreal. And at this time of year, WBCQ is almost impossible to get in Montreal. I get WBCQ mostly in the summertime. The skip gets kind of shorter because of the longer days. The ionosphere isn't actually reacting the same. VK2FBAJ, Brian, nice to have you on board from Australia. 9 a.m. on Sunday, 30 degrees Celsius. That's warm. It's beach time. You got to go to the beach. Got to take it easy. So let's try to get there slowly. What else do we have? Larry Stevens, nice to have you on board from Ohio. Donald Hosmer says, I'm studying the new PL990X for possible purchase, or I might wait for the PL368 and upgrade to the PL365 or GP5 SSB. Yeah, that one has a keypad. That's kind of nice. That's kind of nice. Chaz Tank says, in the late 80s and early 90s, I used long strands of copper wire and got excellent reception on the cheap. Yeah, if you know, and it's still like that, because every time somebody asks me and says, I want to buy a real good shortwave antenna, what should I spend my money on? Buy 100 feet of wire and hang it out somewhere and see what happens. That's the first thing you need to do, because that's the first and best antenna you can have anyways for very cheap, and you'll be happy if it's quiet where you are. Then if it's noisy, that's another story. But I will never change my recommendation of, I need a shortwave antenna. What should I do? Just hang some wire outside. That's all. Start with that, okay? Then we'll talk if it doesn't make it better or if it's worse. Then there'll be other things, you know. Thomas Olson, nice to have you here. Rennie Arcobaleno, nice to have you here from Italy. Office Newt, can't wait for Messenger. Great subscription. I got this month, I've got 2 things in there. I got my utility column where I will, for those of you that want to start tuning some digital modes, have a few examples. And then I've got in the technical column a HD radio article this month. Aerial imaging. Most people just live in a RF swamp all the time. All you need to be is about 100 feet away from a man-made structure, sit at a park bench, and you feel like you're at Arecibo. Yeah, it's often the case. Absolutely. Thomas Lane, please explain what is CIDX. CIDX is the Canadian International DX Club, and which was founded in 1962. It's a club that has a bulletin, a radio bulletin every month called a Messenger that has all sorts of topics of anything from shortwave to medium wave, long wave to VHF to, it's really it has every side of the hobby, technical topics of all sorts. It has verification QSL columns. It has anything radio, they talk in there. It is a nice bulletin that comes out every month, and you're part of a club, first of all, a radio club, and you've got that nice Messenger electronic publication in your email every month, and that has a lot of information, and including information for the new comer to the hobby, and you will have a lot of reading of interesting stuff in there. I am part of the utility column, and also the sometimes have a little extra like this month where I talk about HD radio. So you can ask for a sample copy, CIDXclub@yahoo.com. You're going to get the bulletin, December bulletin, for free. Check it out, and if you enjoy, you can join. It's $10 a year or $25 for 3 years. Quite a lot of people here are actually subscribed to it, and it's very, very nice, very professionally made bulletin. Mark Tuyet, nice to have you here from Florida. Hey, Kadarius, nice to have you here. Take care, D1 DJK. Always nice to have you on board. What else do we have? Let me just go down, see where I am. Okay. Vince Perrault, bonjour et bienvenue. Toujours un plaisir. Mark Tuyet, will noise reduction headphones actually create noise when listening to radio signals? No, I don't think so. Using headphones is a great way to actually help much more in the hobby. Russ Gladden, nice to have you here from Ottawa. Like Rich says, selective attenuation or selective fade can change the sound, but it never heard a total elimination of audio on carrier. Usually it's more of a distortion effect than anything else. Thomas Lane, so enjoy these live stream broadcasts. You do a wonderful service to us all. I'm happy to be here. It's fun to do these things. I mean, sharing your passion for radio is really cool. You know? James Johnson, hey, been listening, but lazy today. Long week working in cold. Takes some adjusting. Yeah. Work. That bad thing that interferes with our favorite hobby of radio listening. But also that gives us the possibility to buy radios. Oh, man. Eric Cottrell says, Alan on the South Shore of Montreal area does receive long-wave broadcasts in Europe, but he is using a European car radio and a great sound grounding system. Yeah, the equipment you use can also, of course, help a lot. That's for sure. I never hear. I would need to. I guess I would need to be first of all, probably in an environment with less noise and a much better antenna because I'm not. I don't have an antenna that it's made for long wave here, really. So that also doesn't help a lot. Nora says, it's our Independence Day. Finland has been independent for 103 years. Congratulations. iComic 40s. Nice to have you on board. From Australia. David is barbecuing outside. Well, I could, at 0 degrees. Even, here, I actually barbecue at minus 20 in the winter, so I still barbecue. I just removed the snow. Rich says, did you all hear the CW on 660 meters during the contest? I thought it was dead, and suddenly, very good point that they assume. Always the same thing, I'm lucky. 160 meters here. I get quite a few hams talking at night. It's not too bad, but contests. David, the bands are dead because everybody is listening, thinking nobody's there. That is probably true. They tune around and they're like, I'm not going to call CQ. There's no one there. Rennie says, here in Turin, I can receive very few long wave stations. The strongest stations is RTL, 234 kilohertz. But if I go in Sicily, that station is weak. I think that is impossible to do long wave DXing in America. No, it is possible. There are quite a few North American radio geeks that receive transatlantic long wave. It's surprising. Kimberly, K6YYL, I agree with you, Joe. I call CQ all of the time. I am on 10 meters a lot, as well as 6 meters, no matter where we are in the solar cycle. Yep, and that's the way everybody should actually, react. That's the way everybody should be thinking of. Stop thinking about whatever band might be open or not. Call CQ a few times. Check it out. If more people would take the time to call CQ instead of thinking that, well, I guess the band must be dead, we might have a lot more active bands because people would be surprised to see, oh, look at that, 15 meters open, 10 meters open. Because, outside of the solar cycle, there's another thing that a lot of hams don't understand. I understand propagation and all of the different little things that can make, open or not the 10 meter band. I understand that it's complex, and to go up to the point of understanding it is one thing, but I'm thinking more of the curious guy that I am. Even if I didn't understand a thing about that, and I did for a long time. I mean, the first 10 years of my life of radio listening, I pretty much didn't know much about propagation. I knew the basics of, well, okay, at the nighttime, those high frequencies don't work usually, and daytime, that's this, and you know, just looking around. I remember the first time. So a great example, I think. So my basic understanding of when I started, 10 meters, 28 megahertz, that can be open at midnight on any time because it's darkness. 10 meters does not propagate at midnight local time. And I'm a curious guy. I'm the guy that even if I'm sure there's nothing there, I'm still going to go and tune around. And that helped me a lot in the hobby over the years because it rewarded me with surprises. Yeah, I did tune around the 10-meter band maybe hundreds of times with nothing there at night. But I still will remember tuning. The first time I tuned, I don't know when, but it was somewhere in the late 80s, early 90s. I tuned a 10-meter band, and there was many stations talking, and it was like 11 p.m. local time here at night. I couldn't understand why were there so many stations tonight. And the next day, it was like, hey, I turned it on at 11 p.m. There's nothing. And it took an article or something that I read at one point that talked about sporadic E-skip to make me understand, oh, look at that, sporadic E-skip, a phenomena that happens in the summertime and kind of smaller, but it does happen apparently a little bit at this time of year also. And I was curious. Why did signals on 10 meters propagate so well for one evening and nothing after? Well, that's when I understood all of that. There's other phenomena that could happen and will light up a band, and you'll have activity there. Maybe for minutes, maybe for a few hours. But even in the middle of the night, you should try a band. Even if you're sure nothing will be there. It's the best way to be rewarded by something you never heard before. So, that often happens, like Matt says. It's become almost a standard now. You want to know if the band's open, tune the FT8 frequency. If you hear stuff, the band's open. Because it happens often that you hear FT8 on a band and there's nothing else anywhere else. And it's like, yeah, nobody's going there, And it's like my own test of, is the 10-meter band open? What I'm going to do, I'm going to go out and I'm going to tune the Super Bowl channel, 27025, and check out if there's some activity. So there's nothing right now, apparently. 27025 is quiet. So I guess there's no opening right now. But if that frequency is full of signals, 10 meters open. And then by ricochet, I will go to 6 meters and check 50 megahertz because you never know, Toolman, K6, YYL, good to see you. Yeah, okay. Free Saxon, nice to have you here from Netflix. No way, only rubbish on there. Laura Robertson, nice to have you here from Georgia. Free Saxon thinking has always been a minority pastime. David says, I generally think it's better to take a look at the source indices, but they provide more general information about how the bands locally might be. But of course, the best test is to directly go on the air. Absolutely. Just listen. Just try it. Just try it. You can use them as kind of guides. I'll use the solar flux to see if there's a better chance. And this, listen to my wording here. I will look at the solar flux to see if there's a better chance for some of the signals on a band, but will not use that as an excuse to not go and tune it anyway. So solar flux goes up. Of course, it'll give me an incentive to go and tune the higher frequencies, but it goes down. I'm not going to stop tuning the higher frequencies. I'm still going to go check out if there's something there. That's the way you don't miss out on anything, especially DX. Nora, I have a question. I don't know what shortwave meters mean. I have been on shortwave for a while already, but I don't know what the meters mean. So the meters are, so the bands are divided, and that's another little mix-up complex thing for a lot of people that start out. The bands are divided into meter bands because frequencies are directly related to length. So if you look at 10 megahertz, 10 megahertz frequency is 30 meters. Because the wavelength, so anybody building an antenna will look at that wavelength, because the wavelength of a frequency in meters, there's a relation between that. It's the size of the wavelength. The lower you go in frequency, the bigger the wavelength. So imagine if you go down to the medium wave band, you get to the hundreds of meters, and then thousands of meters on the long wave band, and so on. If you are wondering the meter bands, I would suggest if you Google international broadcast band, you will often see the frequency relation to a meter band. So 6 megahertz, for example, which is an international broadcast band from 5,700 to 6,200 kilohertz, is called a 49 meter band also. So knowing that helps, because sometimes some stations or some services will say, well, we're on the 49 meter band. What's that? Where's 49 meters? Oh, it's 6 megahertz. But you can also easily, by yourself, know what meter band you're on. So, for example, say you're tuning 15.205. So you're on 15,205 kilohertz. So you're thinking, okay, I'm on 15,205. What meter band am I on? The standard is to simply remember 300,000 divided by 15,205 kilohertz equals 19.7. You're on the 19 meter band. That's the wavelength of the signal you're listening. It's not exactly that. It's a little, there's more precision to that. It's like 299,000 something. But roughly you can just, round it to 300,000. So if you want to know a frequency range, what meter band it is, out of the blue, just 300,000. Remember that magic number, 300,000 divided by the frequency in kilohertz. So if I'm listening to a station on, we had a few minutes, like an hour ago, we had Radio Nacional Amazona 11780. 11780 equals 25.4. It's the 25 meter band. So remember that. If you remember 300,000 divided by the frequency in kilohertz on your radio, you can actually know what meter band you're on pretty much all the time. Yeah, the ham bands are quieter than they used to be. That's for sure. But still a lot of activity there, basically. There's a lot of it going on. Absolutely, aerial imaging. A lot of the bands get bad because everyone says there's nothing there and nobody goes there. There is, unfortunately, a lot of that. Nino Savat, is there a release date for PL330? Not yet. None that I know of. Not that I know of. Hey, the Blind Picker. Nice to have you here, Rob. W0RAB in Connecticut. Love to have you here. Matt says, for me, really, the only really helpful information is the F2 information for the layers of the different ionosphere layers and the strength of the layers. They can include which bands are open, and I can calculate the skip zone. Yeah, but you got to be careful because there's could be sporadic E-skip. There's a lot of stuff that can also false that reading. Yeah, power bricks of laptop are big noisemakers. You got to be careful because some are actually more noisy than others, for sure. Stephen Emmert says, appears the XH Data D808 is kind of hard to find now. Is it being discontinued? It is not discontinued, but it seems to not be. I don't know exactly what. It maybe it's the production that's slow or something, but not an Onco. There's a Radio website. They have it on sale there. I've seen it there for $95. It's just that it seems to be coming out at a very slow rate. But if you search, you'll find it. But when I purchased mine, it took me at least 6-7 months of searching all the time to finally get one. Canadian radio TV guy, Gilles World of Shortwave. You should buy an hour of broadcast time on WRMI, WBCQ, or whatever. Yeah, but you got to have the money to pay for that every week or every time you want to do it. So, yeah, I did the radioactive, but like I said, audio will distort, but there will not be a fade out of the audio itself. It's the transmitter. They're just not pushing the modulation. Okay, the radio TV guy, 9330, WBCQ's World's Last Chance, good in Western Canada. If only they had some good and interesting programs rather than that crappy programs from World's Last Chance stuff. Jeffrey Kropp, nice to have you here from snowy New Hampshire. Wow. Others Autocrafter's Kitchen says, given Alan Wiener's craziness lately, maybe I'm better off not being able to pick up WBCQ. I've stopped listening to, I could listen to it from time to time, and I've stopped listening to Alan Wiener worldwide. I just can't anymore. I just can't stand Alan Wiener anymore. It's crazy. Jet Crafter, nice to have you here from Maine, listening to the scanners during the storm. First big storm of the year. Wow. Cars sliding off the roads everywhere. Crazy. Here it's very, very quiet. Robert Osborne, nice to have you here from Niagara Falls. Carl Icon, nice to have you here, Carl, from New York, using WebSDR for shortwave now. Real radio picks up too much Wi-Fi noise. Any tips to reduce interference? Yeah, you can, having an outdoor antenna is the first thing, rather than one inside a home. So the other thing is a loop like an MLA30 might be something that could help you get some stations. But for some of us, like we were saying earlier, it's a tough thing. And it's not always easy to get a reception and to get the noise out of everything. Robert Osborne, 9455. Great tunes tonight. What else do we have? Thomas Olson says, any new thoughts on the PL330? Looks like they have reached the final export model software. Well, they're still not for export. If they fix the bugs that are annoying, that could be a very, very interesting portable for the price. It could easily become one of my favorite picks for anybody that wants something that works well and has a lot of bells and whistles. Kamexi76 just got my first paid CIDX newsletter. Look forward to reading it. Cool. Welcome aboard. JDX, no, because I think the times that they were sending out the SSTV, there were no passes here. It seemed to be more concentrated to Europe, like to the Moscow time zone, like they do from time to time. Steven says, just build a 2-meter measuring tape Yagi, going to see if I can hear people on the International Space Station repeater with the Baofeng. Cool. Good luck with that. Eric Kachaw says, I see memes showing Canadians in swim gear grilling on the barbecue in the snow. Oh, yeah, pretty much. I remember a couple of years, it was like 2 years ago, I think. I posted a picture on Facebook. We had a big snowstorm. I had shoveled the snow out, but there was just a little square where I was actually with my grill, and I was just doing hamburgers on the barbecue. John Hudson, nice to have you here. Mickey Delmich says Montreal DXer Alan Roberts was a great long-wave DXer with modest equipment in antenna back in the day. Next time you can meet up with him, you should hear it. His stories, crazy. Yeah, because I've seen a lot of what he posts, and wow. Oh yeah, noise kills everything. Can tell you that. Yeah, John, I need to try it out. I will be checking out Eric's Fran plugin for sure. I've been planning to do that. And probably going to check out if I can maybe later after the show today eat a little something and try it out. I haven't tried it out yet, but it looks cool. I need to try it out for sure. Neeson Greenwich, nice to have you here. Greece on 9420, absolutely perfect signal into Dublin tonight. Is it still coming in? 9420. Greece. Nope. 31-meter band is rather quiet right now. It does seem. Sergeant Rock waiting in line at the Walmart checkout line. Oh yeah, during this week I heard a lot on Channel 6, and I heard quite a few things on 10 meters. Hey, Louis. Nice to have you here, Louis, from France. Canadian Radio TV guy. Get lots of activity on 27205. And Silver Bowl channel. Around 16 to 20 UT. Yeah, the solar flux was... yeah, you could do it in megahertz also, but since all the radios have pretty much kilohertz readings, I set it in kilohertz, but same thing is true for megahertz also, like Joe says. James Johnson says DX Commander has an awesome antenna design program that helps make the most practical design for your need. Okay, kind of interesting. Antenna design can be fun. First, Michael, last Wayland. Nice to have you here from Massachusetts. Matt says, I can get the Spurtic E information from the same source. Okay. In fact, I usually have the window open all the time to see it. Cool. Still usually find openings for that faster by tuning the affected bands. Cool. James Johnson just says, that is a rarity to see younger people into the radio. You're an exception, and that's a good thing. Yeah, there's a lot. It's surprising the amount of young generation that actually come here and have started the hobby or are intrigued or interested in it. Key and Jill should go on WWCR with his Alex Jones voice impression. Welcome to the world of DX. This is Alex Jones. We're going to talk about shortwave today and the effects on the brain. Take care, Tom DXer. Brady, KJ7 GFT. Do you think if ICOM were to release a radio like the 705, but with a antenna tuner and full 100 watts, do you think it would kill the radio market? We often talk about what kills the radio market, what kills this, what kills that. I don't think we can say anything kills the radio market. I'll have an equivalent here. Like everybody's saying FT8 kills ham radio. And FT8 has nothing to do with killing ham radio, SSB, or anything. A lot of people are there. You get some amazing DX because of its capabilities. But I don't agree that FT8 is a killer of other modes of amateur radio. It did, so I don't think any radio that comes out is going to be a killer of anything. Like SDR is not going to kill the standard radio market either. It depends. Not everybody wants to be using SDR. A lot of people wants to use a regular radio. But I would say, what makes or gives the impression, and that's my personal opinion, that FT8 kills the other modes in a ham radio is because there's a lot of people on FT8 and not much on the other modes. So what happens is you jump to the conclusion that, FT8 killed the other modes. No. The bands were getting quieter naturally. And I can tell you that there's a hell of a lot of ham radio operators out there that do not and are not, they just don't want to talk. Talking is something that is more difficult. Going out, calling CQ, having a conversation with someone you don't even know from the other side. I would say the majority of hams don't like that. They like the hobby, but that's their fear of talking to somebody else. FT8 not only gives, because of its, weak signal capability, more DX to people that maybe had a hard time getting DX, but also you're just not talking. It's just an exchange of contacts. No talk, no nothing. Hey, I'm this, and thank you, 73, to that. No need to talk, no conversation, no nothing. I think it's simply that a lot of hams that rarely talked on the bands found a mode where they are okay with it because there's no conversation to be done. And at the same time, a lot of people that weren't really with big stations that could make contacts throughout the world easily found a mode where finally they can actually, with not a lot of power, DX the world and have contacts. It's a mix of all of that, honestly, because that's the way it is. Naturally, a lot of hams don't like talking. They don't like to, it's like in their general world. We don't naturally like talking to people we don't know. And radio is kind of, for a lot of hams, it's intimidating. It's like, I have to talk to somebody. What about if he, wants a conversation? What am I going to say? Well, FT8 fixes that for all of those that are like that, and the added possibility. So it's not a killer. It didn't take away. I don't think it took away a lot of hams from single sideband, from other modes. It simply brought a lot of hams that weren't much participants in the hobby into the hobby, because they finally have the mode that's perfect for them. So when somebody says FT8 is a ham band killer for the other modes, I don't agree with that personally. So same thing with the radio. What else do we have? I should start selling supplements. Well, we got here a box with 100 pills of iron. Take one every day, and you're going to have more shortwave signals in your body than anybody else. Oh, man. Take care, Robbie Burgess. Joe Sambranios has left FT8, but I don't think it will kill other modes, even CW. Yeah, David. Video killed the radio star. Ari, nice to have you here in Northern Europe, listening to the BBC World Service on 3915 from Singapore. Wow, cool. That's nice. Matt, at last, beer o'clock time has arrived. That's cool. What else do we have? Yingli CA, nice to have you here. Have you seen some hams? I'm glad I only talked to them. Oh, man. Brian Penny, nice to have you on board from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Stephen Hull, totally agree. Yeah, I don't think that we got to stop thinking, there's too much ranting of this mode kills that mode, and that radio kills everything, and SDR is going to be killing the hobby, and that's like, please, there's for everybody out there, Nino Savet says, I've noticed 75 meters and probably other ham bands have been very political. It's a place of speech, and especially 75 meters, 80 meter band. Those are the favorite Ragchu frequencies. They're where everybody spends, all the hams spend their evening talking with each other. Unfortunately, depending on what's happening and the political atmosphere, and there's a lot of that going on for sure. Is it worse? I don't think it's worse now than it was 5 or 10 or 20 or 30 years ago. I think it's always been like that. And depending on where you tune around, there's a lot of that going on. I think the important thing is, you tune around. On 80 meters, for example, I tune around. Most of the conversations I find boring, but you will find because it's one of the very active bands for people that are rag chewing. And you will find that there are some nice groups that have technical talks or that will be, outside of that political or whatever everyday life thing. And we'll be talking technical. I like 160 meters for that. I've noticed that a lot of the 160 meter hams very often are more technical in their talk, and they talk about antennas and stuff, and it's kind of fun, But I think it's it's human nature. Human nature is people talk about what's the thing of the hour. In ham bands, well, same thing. When you have conversations, people will tend to talk about a lot of the stuff, including politics. Unfortunately, it'd be fun to not have too much politics on the ham bands and radio in general, but it is something that does happen. I can tell you that. You can hear some stuff in the 80 meter band and even in the other ham bands that you're like, oh boy, okay, I'm going to change frequency. It's time to tune around. James Johnson says radio is similar to the old party line telephones gossip. Yeah, pretty much. David Nathan, Jill, I was licensed ham for 30 years, and before the cell phone appeared, all the hams except the DXers loved to talk hours, and we had radio friends all over the world. Yeah, but remember that for ham operators, look at another example that I would say about that. CW is for some people less intimidating than talking in a microphone, because you're sending code. They don't hear your voice. There's something about it that kind of removes part of the. I'm sure some guys that are in CW that have maybe never used voice, because that's where they're comfortable. It's their comfy zone. And we also have to look at one thing, Levy Nathan, is that look at how many amateur radio operators there are in a certain area. How many of them do you hear on the air? It's a small number of people that are the ones that we hear all the time. Listen to 80 meter band. Do you hear new hams all the time there? Nope. All the same old guys talking and been there for, I bet you a lot of them have been there, but they were younger when I started in 1982 and still there today, rack chewing away. It's simply a fact of life that, even if you're a licensed ham, doesn't mean you necessarily want to talk with your voice. I think there's a group of people, and that's where you are at, as you say. That's probably your way of being, that you want to talk. But the majority of hams get their license, they're kind of quiet. What else do we have? Yingli CA, nice to have you here. VE3TYA. No snow in northeastern Ontario. Yeah, nothing here too right now. David, KJ4CMY, 80 meters is the medical band. I like that. Oh, God. Well, my prostate last night gave out. It's human nature. You talk about what you want to talk. And, a lot of them are I've been gathering on the bands forever on a specific frequency every night for years and years. They've become friends, There should be, let's check it out. There should be, not hearing anything there. 5960. Anything else? Let's check out just quickly check out the frequencies here. So there were a few parts earlier. Dr. Zeke's farm, 6931, that was at almost 22 UT. So we could check it out just for the fun of it. 6931. Anything there? Anything there? Anything there? Let's check out the frequencies for Europe. Let's RAF from the UK, 5450. That one's not very strong. It's Shannon Volmet 5505. Bands are not up to par that I'm used to. It's getting better. It's 5505 Shannon Volmet. Nino Savat says 160 meters, probably the most interesting band to eavesdrop. No more technical and thoughtful conversations. Yeah, probably because of the fact of getting on 160 meters is more of a challenge for a lot of people. Page Master, well, I have a grand total of 565 QSL cards from amateur radio operators. Cool. That is nice. That is really nice. David, the geriatric band. Oh, man. So, hey, guys, we've been on for 3 hours and 15 minutes. Hope you enjoyed the show today. We'll be back tomorrow on the VHF UHF show. So, 21 hours UT tomorrow. 21 hours UTC tomorrow. Official VHF UHF channel. And we will talk about what's above 30 megahertz. So, hope that you enjoy. And that maybe you'll join us tomorrow on that. Another type of world of radio, and hope that you enjoyed today's show. Thanks everybody for being here, and for those that won't be there tomorrow, we'll be back with the 2 shows. Wednesday 7 p.m. Eastern, 0 hours UTC, or next Saturday 20 hours UTC, or 3 p.m. Eastern. Take care everybody. Have a great weekend for those that won't be there tomorrow. For those that will be, see you tomorrow. VHF UHF, 21 hours Universal Time. Bye-bye, everybody.